missions and omissions that have accumulated and brought us to where we are. We did not just wake up to find ourselves in that situation. Something was not being done right over a period of time. So incrementally, this has put us where we are. So my fellow Kenyans, again, incrementally, we must work to get us out of where we are. We must fix the debt. We must rationalize the taxes. We must look at our priorities. We must figure out the resources, the meager resources that we have. Where are we directing them? We then equally must figure out what are the new areas that we can bring on the table that can help spur the economy. Can we do something in mining? Can we do something in the marine economy? Can we improve on our agricultural practices so that we can move in a different direction? The other critical factor, as we collectively hold our hands, each other, to try and get out of this hole, is that there are certain factors that are with us. The drought is not a joke. The drought that we are facing as Kenyans is forcing serious reallocation of resources. Over 2 million heads of livestock have perished. That's billions of shillings gone. The climate change effect is with us. We are seeing it. We have to start clawing back and regaining and taking corrective measures. And ladies and gentlemen, Kenyans, these solutions are not like instant coffee. Don't let any politician, Musalia Mudavadi included, cheat you that you have instant coffee solutions to the problems that we are facing. It is going to be commitment over a period of time to turn things round. And sometimes some of the factors that are in play are not even of your own doing. You are Kenyans who are here with me. We have nothing to do with the battle in Ukraine and Russia. It's a battle several miles away. But what has it done? That battle has disrupted the global supply chains. Shipping has become costly. Insurers cannot take or provide cover for some of the ships that are supposed to go and pick cargo in that belt because it is too high a risk. And if they do, the insurance goes higher. Fertilizer is obtained in some of those belts. That war has disrupted the supply chains which are beginning to feed into the global economy. And in the process, also affecting us. So here we are. Here we are. I tell you for free. It is not the number of demonstrations we shall hold. It is what are going to be the sound policies we shall put on the table that will reverse this process. And that is the reality. So I stand here to talk freely to you as a Kenyan, to get ideas from you, and to tell you that, my brothers and sisters, it's not going to be a one-day recovery program. It is going to take several months, weeks, months, and some years of pounding in the right direction for us to turn things around. We are in government. We came in with a promise that we want to anchor our economy in putting more weight in bringing equity and hope on those who are downtrodden, hence the bottom-up economic approach. That is what we sold. We are not going to veer from it. But to fund the bottom-up economic approach, we must also have a sound economy that will enable us to generate resources to direct at those targeted areas, whether in the rural area or whether in the urban areas. And we are walking a tightrope. We have to do it without being able to tax too much, because we are in a corner. We are in a corner. So we have to work hard and to be rational and to dialogue. And even in the process of competition, let us do our competitive politics, but let it be competition on the basis of ideas and opinions. If you can persuade me that your idea is better, that is okay. Then that is what we will go with. When Kenyans voted in 2022, they voted for the Kenya Kwanza coalition because they bought more into the Kenya Kwanza ideology and blueprint. And they made their decision. And those who had doubts, the Constitution gave them latitude and room to go up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court made a decision. And that chapter was closed. Now continue moving the streets of Nairobi, telling us that you want the servers open. They will not reverse that decision made by Kenyans at that time. The best you can do is build on your own, rethink your strategy, and see if you can persuade Kenyans in 2027. That is where we should be going. But the reality of the matter is that we, as a Kenyan nation today, are going through a difficult economic time. Some of the issues self-inflicted as a Kenyan people, and some of it extraneous factors that are impacting on us. And I've given you the example of the battle in Russia-Ukraine. Those are extraneous issues. And then there are others which are human-made, man-made, the climatic change effects, different contributions by different players globally, but they are systematically impacting on us. But there is hope. There is hope if there is logical collaboration. There is hope if there is robust and genuine competition. And there is hope if we can underpin and sustain our democracy. That is where the solutions will be. So I think I'll end there and wait to hear if there are some questions, reactions, criticisms, as long as you don't throw a bottle at me. I am ready to have the conversation. Thank you.
Wonderful. Can we give Mheshimiwa a better clap? Thank you, sir. I can confirm to you that there is no one who is going to throw any bottle, whether physical bottle or invisible, none. Allow me, His Excellency, to recognize His Excellency, the former governor of Makueni, Professor Kivuta Kibwana. Very well. Allow me again, because of a lot of pressure from ANC, I've been told I must recognize the chairman of ANC. There is a way you guys, you know how to do it, so I have to do it that way. Thank you very much. Therefore, having heard His Excellency, the speech, which is very informed, very candid, and I think he has spoken his heart regarding the state of the nation as of now. May I therefore give an opportunity to fellow Kenyans to be able to interact with His Excellency Musalia Mudavadi on the topical issues that he has been able to address today, and perhaps if there is another issue that you think you need to have. This is the beauty of having a dialogue. So you lift up your hand. I think I will pick a couple of 5, then I will give Mheshimiwa to pick. And I've been a speaker before, so whoever catches the eye of the speaker shall be able to carry the day. So somebody has carried my day there, so please, that is number 1. The lady here, number 2. The lady here, number 3. And the gentleman there, number 4. And the gentleman here, number 5. Then we'll come for another round. Thank you. So could you give the microphone, please? Please, give it the microphone here. Yeah, where's the microphone? Yeah, give it to the lady. Gentleman, you need to come close. Please, you need to come close. Okay. Please, short and brief.
Okay, good day. My name is Miss Ndoto, and I'm a tax producer. I produce the next taxpayer. We, the youth, 75% of the population, produce the next taxpayer. But why should we when our interests are not being met? What will my children eat? In China, the youth have started a movement called Lying Flat or Let It Rot. Chinese youth are saying that they are the last generation. They're not producing the next taxpayer. And we've established here that a government's only form of income is taxes. So if we don't produce the next taxpayer, can we systematically destabilize the government?
Thank you. The lady here, please. Excuse me, the lady here. The lady here. Yes. Here.
Good morning, everyone. Your Excellency, the Prime Cabinet Secretary. First and foremost, my name is Ashura Michael, an advisor at the National Youth Council. I'll be straight to the point about the economy of the country. We have an issue first, number 1, with an issue of statistics arising from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. They actually underestimated the number of persons with disabilities. I don't know the modalities that they use to do that, because now resources are being allocated to different categories of people. So we lag behind because statistically we are not proportionate. So as persons with disabilities in this country, we are really suffering. And then secondly, in the Constitution, Article 54, 2A talks about progressive employment, 5% for persons with disabilities, but all along, including the current government, 0.0001% inclusion for persons with disabilities. As far as employment is concerned, the cost of living is actually going high. And you see, without persons with disabilities, if they're left behind, then we are not going to achieve the opportunities. Give us the opportunities that we cope up with the cost of living as well.
Thank you very much. The gentleman here. Then I will go to Amon from Alliance High. Amon, where are you, Amon? Very good.
My name's Stephen Lijodi. I'm a small trader in CBD. I'm a true testimony of bottom-up economy. My main concern comes to the cargo consolidation that the KRA brought a new tax system that we shall be paying. We are paying 200 shillings per kilo, and now they're going to do valuation per product. China Square, which took the mall at KU, and of late we are being told they are coming to open another mall in town. Is the government protecting the local trader, or is just concerned about foreigners coming in? Another thing is about the influx of hawkers, and that message should go direct to our governor, Sakaja. Bringing in more hawkers in town is killing traders who pay rent and who pay business permit. And then another concern is about tenders, government tenders. There is a policy that the current governor brought in about the 30% AGPO to youth, women, and the people with disability. But if you do current research in government, you will realize those people are not getting those tenders. Those tenders are going to a particular community because they know how to produce chai. Chai.
Thank you.
Please, Cabinet Secretary, protect the local traders and Kenyans.
Good stuff. Thank you. Amon?
Good morning. Allow me to be very brief. My question is relevant to the theme, not about the economy. My question is on the narrative of democracy. Now, as the youth, or at least speaking from the perspective of my generation, there's a lot of negative information that we consume about the state of democracy in our country in particular. A lot of negative information about violence that comes after disputing ballots, a lot of politicization of that's being brought into the church or things of the like, just a lot of feuds that are being brought to something that should be clean and that something should be able to serve society. So my question is it a concern of your government and of your office in particular that you should regulate the kind of narrative of democracy that we the youth are consuming, so that we are not able to perpetuate it when we are in power, when we are in your office? And if I may, one slight concern for the Prime Cabinet Secretary. You mentioned something about the government not being able to pay for everything. Well, if we do not have money, then is the solution to debate motions in Parliament about increasing salaries? Is it about creating offices with no clear mandate? If I may, just a bit, creating offices with no clear mandate for which the people who are occupying them, their salaries are being paid by the 75% of the youth, or 75% of the population who are taxpayers. So tell me, if we are going to proceed with omissions and commissions, why are we not considering the youth who are giving us this money, the few that we have, in order to create a better society for Kenyans at large? Thank you very much.
Very good, very good, very good. Bwana Prime Minister, you a bright Cabinet Secretary, you can be assured that the future is safe. With that kind of mentality, the future is safe. There is the last gentleman here. The last gentleman here. Please give the microphone. Be very. And as we give him, today we are blessed to have a host of professors. Another professor is in the house. The immediate former governor of West Pokot, Lonya himself, Professor Lonya. And of course, you know your narratives. I don't want to do that. We will do that after this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. My name is Musa Abdi. I'm a Danish Youth Board sounding member representing Northern Kenya. My question is on pending bills and on-source revenue at the county level. And I will take your theme on sustainability. The Controller of Budget report shows that 370 billion were allocated to counties for financial year 2021-2022. Out of these 370, 151 went into pending bills. This tells you already, even before the money gets there, there is a few or limited allocation to recurrent and, more importantly, development expenditure. So my question to you, Your Excellency, and you are speaking about sustainability. What is the national government doing about this? And the fact President William Ruto indicated that he's going to take domestic approach of, cutting on our budget by 300 billion for this financial year. And secondly, on source revenue. The county government, 47 county government, they collected 35 billion in the past financial year. Out of the 35 billion, you find that the Office of the Auditor General and COB, they have indicated that many counties have not automated their own source revenue collection. So you find there is a lot of leakage, there is a lot of corruption, and there is a lot of misuse of these resources. Only few counties, if I can remember, maybe Makueni and Nyandarua, who have been given clean bill of health. Other counties have been reporting unqualified reports. So as a sustainability approach, what is the government doing in resolving this pending bill and on-source revenue collection crisis? Thank you.
Thank you. I think the last person, I think there was a gentleman here, the last, then we can be able to ask our guests, then we'll come for another round. So far, so good.
Okay. I'm Dr. Samuel Mbutu from Department of Political Science, UON. So, Bwana Prime Minister, thank you so much for your elaborate comments. I think one thing which the Prime Minister stands out for, he is very sober in his discussions and in his approach to ideas. I must credit you for that. However, two things, Bwana Prime Minister. I know, having been in government for so many years, you understand Kenyan economy in and out. There are very few things we can tell you. However, there are two things which as the university we find most governments are not paying attention to. One, research-driven policies or research-driven decisions. So I urge you in your government, kindly, the decisions you make, whether on education, on economy, can they be research-driven? And for us as the university, there is a lot of knowledge there. Why don't you just come, hear what we have, or compare what we have with what you have, then get something good out of it? Lastly, leakages, which my brother has talked about. That should be the elephant in the room. I've never believed that in this country we have scarcity of resources. No. What we have is enough. The only problem is we are misusing what we have. And the corruption we are used to talking about is corruption on the expenditure side. Bwana Prime Minister, there is another corruption which is less talked about. Corruption on the collection side. Please pay close attention to that, and you will see, you will collect more, and you will be able now to fund bottom-up approach which Simon Kamau, my classmate Kule Makerere, normally talks about. Thank you so much.
Wonderful, wonderful. Bwana Prime Minister, you can be assured if that is your lecturer, you have no option but to pass the exam. And so I think after this, myself with Malala and SG of ANC, we will come for the evening classes. Thank you so much. So over to you, Prime Minister.
Okay, thank you. I'll start with Ndoto. We all have to pay taxes, and we all must pay taxes, because without taxes we will not fund our schools, we will not fund our hospitals, we will not be able to construct roads, we will not be able to buy fuel in this country, so we must pay taxes. All right? I believe Ndoto is here because one day she might be the president of this country. So the question would be, how would Ndoto run her government if there are no taxes? So the solution is not to destabilize the government, by refusing to pay taxes. The solution is to insist on accountability and the usage and improve on how those taxes are utilized. But for us to sustain ourselves, we must be able to generate internal revenues. That's how governments run globally. Taxes, first and foremost, to meet its own internal requirements. And then after that, they can support their international partners elsewhere, or friends elsewhere. And that happens with other developing countries. So we should not run away from that. On Ashura, I agree with you that it is absolutely essential that we have accurate and timely data. In fact, we need more data scientists, data analysts going into the future, because it's only through that basis that we can achieve better utilization of resources. And I do agree that more attention must be paid to persons living with various disabilities. This is something that we must do, and we must ensure that we have accurate data, because that is the starting point of ensuring we do it positively. So I can only acknowledge and agree with you on that. Mr. Lijodi has raised some issues, some to do with taxation, where you have containers and how we can tax this. And I think it's important that the Treasury, the government, takes keen interest in this, because this was part of the problem that affected very many small traders in Nairobi. The taxation policy around the goods, where small of what they need, is an area that we need to manage very carefully and fairly, so that we do not destabilize their business. They are also earning a living from there. And this is something that I will take up, so that the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury and Planning, working with KRA, can look at this area very carefully, so that we do not dismember a very critical segment of our economy, and more so when we are talking of the bottom-up economy. Because the consolidated container arrangement is basically the Harambe process, pulling together, so that you can benefit from the economies of scale and be able to bring your container here. So we should not disadvantage the small-scale traders who cannot import containers on a standalone basis, but they are working through a cooperative arrangement to be able to earn an honest living. So we must be supportive in that process. The issue of the foreign traders or foreign businessmen. This is a hot topic in many countries from time to time, because trade and business has become global. It is no longer a situation where you say you can live with the old protectionism and isolate and lock out others. It's not possible. So what we need to do as a nation is always to ensure that we have the proper balance between the traders or the business people who come in to invest in our country and the Kenyan businessmen who are doing their work here. And I say so because, Mr. Lijodi, it may be of interest to you that one of the largest foreign direct investors in Uganda are Kenyans. And in the region, Kenyans are huge investors in the region. Some have moved away because of punitive taxation here, and they found it easier to invest in those countries and they're creating jobs in the region, and they're earning resources. I don't have to mention all of them, but you can talk about Bidco, you can talk, they're investing in the region. So when we talk about how do we manage our relationship with the foreigners, we should not approach it from a xenophobic angle. You know, xenophobic is, we have seen it. We saw what happened in some countries in the south, where certain nationals were being subjected to beatings and inhuman treatment. We should not fall into that trap. Because even you as Kenyans, you find your way to China for your merchandise. You import from there. Sometimes you are forced to go there and stay even for 1 month sourcing these products so that you can bring them here. So we need to balance, because how would it be if, for instance, you are blocked from going to that country, or if you are mistreated in that country? So we need to be very careful in terms of our trade policy, in terms of being sure that we can attract foreign direct investment. We can also attract trade, all right? But we must balance it through proper policies, but not through discriminative approaches. Not a xenophobic approach, but let us look at it from a business perspective and rationalize our arrangements. That is what a civilized nation should do. Some questions. I will look for Governor Sakaja and tell him there are very hot issues here. How to manage the balance between the small-scale traders or hawkers and the ones who pay rates to the county government and so forth. This is a challenge, and I'm sure there are two governors, former governors here. They'll also speak to it, hopefully. Lonyangapuo and Professor Kibuta Kibwana, who was also my teacher. They will perhaps throw in something here on this particular conversation. But all I can say is that going forward, county governments, and indeed even the national government, will have to do more in providing well-organized spaces within our urban centers and within the rural areas to allow the small-scale traders to have decent trading places for their businesses. That is something that we'll have to work on as we go forward. And as I said, these are not instant coffee solutions, but they are solutions that require constant, planned, and protracted investment in some of these areas. I agree that the portion of 30% tendering is not necessarily going to the beneficiaries, intended beneficiaries. That's a fact. Women, youth, people with disability, people are taking your portion in your name. So one of the things that I know the government is pushing hard is to fast track the process of e-procurement and to be able to leverage more on technology in this space so that we can have better results in ensuring that the intended people can be beneficiaries. Because the traditional way is showing us very clearly there's a lot of cheating and the intended people do not benefit. So technology may be our solution as we move forward. The young man from Alliance, the school. Yeah? Is it the school or the school? The school. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the young man from Alliance, Amon, was it? Amon? Yeah. He's right that we need to work more on the whole democracy and what is supposed to be good practices in democracy. And this is where I commend the Center for Multi-Party Democracy when they help in bringing this kind of fora on the table on a regular basis, so that we can learn to appreciate that competition can be healthy, and competition should be healthy. And then we should learn to live with that, and then provide fair practices within that competition. Now, the whole arena of elections in Kenya has been a challenge. You know, whether it is elections in the parties, whether it is elections in cooperatives, whether it is elections in land buying companies, whether it is elections for the parliament or for the Senate, we have always had challenges. But we are making progress. We are making progress. I see that in the years to come, because our systems are being tested, you know, if we go back and we look at how the elections were before, and then we come to a situation where we have seen that you can go through an election, then you have institutions like the Supreme Court, which can nullify an election. In 2017, we saw the Supreme Court nullify an election and order for a repeat. We have seen it also even in parliamentary. In 2017, as an example, if I give statistics, I think there were over 300 petitions across the country, whether at county government level or at parliamentary and Senate levels, or just say parliamentary levels. There are about 300 petitions. If you check the elections that we have just come out of about 6 months ago, the number of petitions filed across the board has reduced drastically from that high figure of 300 plus, which means that somewhere along the line there are some positive steps that are coming through in this electoral processes. We need to continue working on the IEBC in this country, equipping them better, having them better resourced, training people, and ensuring their safety. Ensuring their safety. Because we also have a bad history where election officials in Kenya have lost their lives. If we want to consolidate democracy, we should make sure that all employees of the IEBC are guaranteed of their security, so that they are not mobbed or harassed in any part of the country at all. And as I speak with a lot of insider information that if the electoral body had not stood firm in this immediate election, this country would have seen something perhaps even worse than the 2007-2008 episode. this was the first time we are seeing a situation where people who are not directly involved with the management of elections heading into the National Tallying Center and trying to demand the reversal or alteration of results. What saved this country was also technology. Because what was on the portal is exactly what came from the polling stations. Now that is a serious advancement in our democratic process. They are slow, they may be baby steps, but they are very significant steps in making sure that we improve on our democratic processes and our election. And I can tell you that a lot of the observers, the international observers, the local observers, acknowledge that this was one of the better times that technology has leveraged and delivered good and realistic and honest results that reflect the will of the people of Kenya. So we still have a journey to go, but we are moving in the right direction. Musa Abdi. Pending bills. Where is he? Actually, you've talked only of the county government. But I may shock Kenyans today because the total pending bills on record so far are over 1 trillion Kenya shillings. And I've not talked about those that are in courts where judgment is pending or processes are being had, but that is the magnitude of the challenge that we have. Now, we have a major task because these bills must be verified. Because definitely a good chunk of them are either fictitious or seriously inflated. So there has to be a very thorough audit process to verify these bills before they can be settled. The challenges are immense on this one. Because when you don't settle your pending bills, and I'm talking of the valid and verified ones, you are punishing people unfairly. Businesses are going bust. Auctioneers are moving into people's premises. People are losing jobs because of these high pending bills. And if you do not inject money through the right way of settling pending bills, you will not spur the economy. You will not spur the economy. But ladies and gentlemen, we are the government. We have been voted in. It's our duty to now solve these issues. But I want to ask you, is it possible that you could have pending bills of 1 trillion plus having accumulated just from the last election? Is it possible? It's not possible. That means these are issues that have arisen over a period of time. And that is why I said there is a series of either commissions or omissions that cumulatively put you into a hotspot. We are in a hotspot to be able to tackle some of these pending bills. What does it mean? It means that we must do much more on financial discipline, both at the county government level and at the national level. Are we committing procedurally where there is a budget that is approved so that you commit on that basis? Are we signing off those contracts after going through the process? If not, then we will not solve our pending bills problem. And they normally say, dawa ya deni ni nini? So as a government, we have to remember that there is that businessman in Kiambu, there's that businessman in Mandera, there's that businessman in Kisumu who built a road, who built a school, who supplied something and has not been paid, but his banker is now auctioning him. So we have to work to solve some of these issues. Now, I hope I'm not painting a gloomy picture. I'm trying to put Kenyans in a realistic place. Once we appreciate that, then we will find solutions together. And we are equal to the task, all of us. And we must look at technology as a place that we must leverage on. Finally, for the Professor Mbutu, I want to agree with you that we must leverage on the academia, we must leverage on research so that we have accurate data to support us in our decision making. We must continue working against leakages and wastage in public office. We must improve on our revenue collection. And we must also become innovative and figure out how we can even leverage and support universities in a different way. I'm sure you know that in most of the other countries, universities are funded more through research. Maybe 60% research and 40% other commitments, maybe the school fees and what have you. But unfortunately, we have been living in a situation where almost 90% of our universities here are being funded through the payments. That is not sustainable. So we will have to figure out, and there are experts like yourself and others who can give us ideas to break away from that cycle so that we can have alternative funding mechanisms for universities so that they can be more sustainable. I think that was the first round. I think I can only manage one more round because of time, and then I'll have to go.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Can you give him a better hand clap? I think he's been very patient in response and very candid. I think that is the kind of conversation that we... The very last round, I think I have a gentleman here who had requested before we start. I want to give to the good lady here, so number 2. And then I give to the gentleman here, number 3. and I think to the good lady here, number 4, and I think the gentleman, and this the lady here, number 5. I think that we can only do that. Yeah, the rest, by the way, kuna venya will respond. Baadaye. Thank you so much. Can we start with the gentleman here, please?
Thank you. My name is Samuel Mora. I'm a tax agent. So you're welcome to the profession. And I work for Grant Thornton, but I'm here on behalf of ISPAC. I was actually meant to facilitate this particular session, but the Prime Cabinet Minister has done justice to it. I like his sober way of handling things, and Prime Cabinet Secretary, may I tell you, this place, there was anger before you came, but I think you've done some justice. 2-3 things. You had mentioned, or you told us to stop living a lie, but I'd also throw probably a bottle back to you and say, our leaders should also stop making promises that make us live a lie. Because one of the things that was mentioned was like, how do you expect the price of gas to go down, and yet it is heavily taxed? And at times we hear that we intend to actually construct 100 dams in 5 years, yet in the last 10 years we were not able to do even 5 stadiums. Subsidies, when Prime Cabinet Secretaries, just to let you know, it was good idea but bad for the government because it has left oil marketers in a very bad position. I'm privy of some of which are our clients where they are owed millions of Kenya shillings and they are now at the mercies of banks. In case they want to call their overdraft, they will not be able to do anything. But also, what really makes probably most of us not very comfortable with the promises that we are getting is that we see a lot of negative stories coming from the government. If we are to live within our means, let also the government live within its means. Because when we hear stories that we are spending 4 million shillings on hospitality in a day, and yet there are people who are starving, people enjoying foreign trips and per diem just to go to Israel to know how to navigate drought, when an Israeli can come to Kenya and train 1,000 people in one go, then we fail to understand what is the priority of this government. Thank you.
Thank you. The good lady, well-dressed, gender, desk office UDA. Very well. Thank you. Good.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. My name is Salma Ochieng, a youth in this country and also a woman. We cannot talk about growth and run away from politics. We cannot talk about growth and run away from leadership. Your Excellency, you've been an experienced political leader in this country. Now we are looking at a position of sustainability, and you have also talked about sustainability. Now, my question. There's a conversation going around amongst Kenyans on the need of political parties to merge, to form one party, going the way of Tanzania, South Africa, and the United States of America. Now that we have representation of almost all political parties here, and I appreciate Professor seated next to me here, what is your advice? What is your take? What are you telling Kenyans for purposes of sustainability? Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. That is upcoming Deputy President in future. Can we give to the lady here, please? The lady here. The lady here. I will only pick those I had given, please, for now. Good.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Molin Ann from the Technical University of Kenya and USPAC. And my question this afternoon, from the line that His Excellency gave us earlier, that it's a series of omissions and commission. So, my controversial question on democratic development. There are offices that have been reintroduced by the current government of the spouses and maybe the first daughters and sons. And to these, there are more incurrences of expenditure that will be inquired by the offices. Instead, why don't such expenditure be taken elsewhere in, for instance, for help for us university students. Right now, we are not receiving our help as it was supposed to be initially, like in other government and everything. So, how is this offices relevant to the cost that we are facing as a country?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. The other one, the gentleman here, please. Give it to the gentleman and the good lady, and we are done. We want to recognize the opposition SG, Omwami Edwin Sifuna, please, and perhaps Kenneth knows why he's late. Probably he has been passing somewhere, and we want you may want to update us how far you have gone. Thank you very much. Can we give the gentleman, please?
Hello everyone, good afternoon. My name is Dickens Ogola. I'm from KMTC, Nairobi campus, but I'm here under AILF Nairobi, UN. First of all, I would like to echo Mr. Malala for his great work he's doing in the Western region. Actually, he's the only politician I've ever known to fulfill his promise. When he gives us the tournament, he will always fund it successfully. Thank you for that. The second thing I'd like to say is that to ask the question to the PM is that you said when you were campaigning that this state capture, and that you are going to work on that so that everybody, every institution, government institutions are going to be independent. But actually, of late, I don't know if it's that their independence has made them to fall. Some of them, like the office of the ODPP, this guy has decided to throw away the cases without giving us any reason. These cases are touching the individuals in the top government officials. And these people, they have been given, even their account that were frozen, were back to them, and there is no reason as to why they have been given those funds, and there is no reason, they have not been told why are those cases thrown away. The second thing is on even the EACC, even on the judiciary. Recently, you remember they gave us a judgment, a ruling, that was totally against our customs, against our tradition as Christians and as Africans, and you people talked nothing about it. Some of you are just sugarcoating it, that they'll come to see it. You know, then the last one.
Yes. Yes.
The last one.
Yes, sir.
Is on the question the Alliance Boys said. You know, there's a question he posed to the PM that he didn't respond on. I think maybe because it was attaching indirectly, the question that lady also said, Senior, may you give us the elaboration on the same so that we get to know. And even to my concern, that the office, you've always been the champion of protecting the Constitution. And I've always seen you in every platform saying that Constitution must be protected. But to my understanding is that the post you're holding is not in the Constitution. Just a moment. Right now, we are told that there is posts that are created in the government. People are claiming they have funds. They are claiming you have, like, the shortage. You've said you have, I don't know, 1 trillion. Let me just continue. Let me say, these offices. Let's relax. These offices.
All right, thank you.
These offices are funded. These offices have staffs. These offices are staffed, even they are given vehicles that are serviced and fed by the government, our funds. So you people should tell us if you are creating these offices, yet we need money to start to settle those bills, to feed people, and you are creating such offices.
Thank you.
PM. Explain to us. Thank you.
You made your point. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Asante sana. Let's give to the gentleman here. Thank you so much. Let's give to the lady here. Thank you, sir. Thank you. though you mentioned Malala is not here, tutapeleke ujumbe kwa Malala. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Miriam Opondo. Maybe it's a question or a recommendation. I'm not very sure, but it's touching on the issues of persons with disabilities. Section 54A of the Constitution talks about 5% opportunities for persons with disabilities in every public service whenever we have any opportunity. But my concern is with the word progressive, because when you say progressive, it means that when you're having these appointments in public service and other areas, you'll say that maybe progressive should wait until later. So that is why persons with disabilities are not getting these positions. So I think maybe it would be good if that word progressive, you see a way of getting it out of the Constitution. Right. Because we really need these positions as persons with disabilities. We need equity, as you spoke about it. And we also need employment, just like anyone else. Right. So if we are talking about this 5% realization and we're saying it's progressive, it may just be postponed for many, many years to come.
Thank you.
So maybe you could look for a way of getting this word progressive out of the Constitution. Otherwise, people will keep saying, after all, it's progressive, so let's just wait until the other year.
Thank you.
So people with disabilities need access to health, access to education, access to each and every sector in this country. But if you say progressive, then maybe we may never get there. So I think for me that is a concern, so that we can have equity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Can we get the wisdom of Professor Lonyangapo for a minute, so that when I give to the Prime Cabinet Secretary we are done, and then I'll give Prof. Very good. Thank you so much. Professor Lonya.
Thank you. The Prime Cabinet Secretary and colleagues. I'm very proud, sir, having listened the way you are responding and the way you are handling the concerns that are coming from Kenyans. I've been one of the facilitators and one of the participated in the forums that have been going since yesterday, especially in the Center for Democracy. And I am so happy with the interactions that we are setting for us as Kenyans. And this is the way to go, so that we can be able to ask raw data that we think needs to be asked. We don't know, and even those that we know. So what we learned as we were discussing on democracy here, you see, as Kenya has been a multi-party state for 11 years, we are single democracy, single state for 50 years. And we have countries that have been having multi-party for the last 200 years, 150 years. So to me, I want to propose that the opening of space that we are seeing now, coming from the current government and the future governments, we really need to participate as Kenyans to make sure that we propose what we think should come out, should be followed for the sake of our people, but not also that we have common values that don't change for this country, for us to continue to be one. And we should not fast track our democracy to be equivalent to those that have been alive for almost 200 years. We can't. So the challenges we have, we continue moving it together, but we need to have safeguards. And I'm proud that the Prime Cabinet Secretary and all the others who are in government and those of us who are also outside are putting the nation at the heart of our movement, so that we don't go beyond that. Otherwise, I'm happy to listen. I'm told my friend Professor Gifota is around. I am on leave for a few more years before I come back. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Therefore, I would want to welcome His Excellency, so that he can be able to respond and to give us his partition. Welcome, sir.
Okay. I'll start with some Mora from Granton and Thornton. I think this is a complex issue, as I said earlier, the issue of the subsidy and around the fuel challenges. When the government of Ruto, which I am serving in, took the decision on the subsidy, is because we realized that the subsidy was causing more hemorrhage to the economy than what it intended to cure. All right? And I gave the figure of about 20 billion per month, which was supposed to be raised to fund the subsidy. It was clearly not sustainable. Clearly there are some teething problems, even as we speak, on how we can improve on the fuel supply flow in the country, and that we shall do. But clearly we are not going back to the road of subsidies. Okay? There are other issues that relate to the foreign exchange issues, and conversations are going on in government. To what extent should there be intervention or no intervention, so that if that opens up appropriately, the market will help in stabilizing this particular issue. So it's a conversation and a thought process that we are going into government. The others have heard you, the issue of how we can continue to make sure that unnecessary expenses or expenditure is literally being eliminated. So we'll walk on that path. Salma Ocheng, on the issue of whether parties should merge or not. We are here at the Center for Multi-Party Democracy. The Center for Multi-Party Democracy. I don't know what more I can say. To enhance democracy, political parties are recognized in our Constitution. They are then cultivated, they have structures, and if there is going to be any alteration whatsoever, there are democratic processes rooted in the constitutions of those particular parties that will guide the process for such a decision if it becomes necessary. So at this stage, what I would like to tell people, if you are to ask me, the competing challenges we have the drought, we have the fight to bring the cost of living down, we have to deal with the pending bills and so forth. To me, the issue of a merger or non-merger is actually at the bottom of the priorities when we leverage what we are supposed to be doing. So I think let us move forward and see how we can move forward without diverting attention from the core issues. And the core issues, in my view, are those that are being talked about in this forum. Now, let me come to Anne. Was it Anne? Yes. Anne, and to some extent, Dixon Ogola. You have raised a very fundamental issue about offices in public space and so forth. I think it's healthy that this conversation takes place. All right? So I want to make it clear to the people here is that from a personal level, if I speak specifically to Musalia Mudavadi, I want to make it very clear that there is no public expenditure that has occurred in the conversation around Tesi Musalia. And I don't see any public expenditure occurring because I fully appreciate that activities of this nature are not government activities. They are social, philanthropic interventions that we make. And for the avoidance of doubt, Mrs. Musalia has been at this process, whether in government, whether I was in government or whether I was not in government. And we shall not stop supporting people in any part of the country through charitable efforts. But I am very clear that it shall not be at the expense of the exchequer. Now, there were some cases that you say were dropped. I'll be very careful here because this is an independent office, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. I'm not privy to the details in the files that are before him. So if there are any issues, his office remains the best office to be able to respond to those particular issues. I can only make comments that will be viewed as second-guessing or presumptuous. So it would be better that at an appropriate time, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions will handle that directly. The same goes for the EACC. The EACC will also explain itself when the time comes. I don't know if Ogola and others, if you will go back in history, because that one I know is safe territory, I can talk to it without difficulty, that the retired president, I think in his first term, either his first term or second term, he went to Parliament and he spoke to Parliament and tabled a report about EACC cases and when they're supposed to be done, when they're not supposed to be done, and all that. It was, if you go back to the Hansard, you will see that report. And if I recollect, that created a very big problem for him because it was perceived that he had interfered with the mandate of the EACC. And indeed, some of the cases that he cited, the lawyers who are very bright went to court and said that there was no due process, no free process, and some of those cases collapsed. So it is better that independent agencies like the EACC handle their matter independently, and from where I stand, it would not be prudent for me to comment on that. The issue of the judiciary is the same. We may not like what the judges have ruled, but it is their domain. It is a constitutional position. And they are there to make their decisions. They may be in our favor, they may be against us. But where we are as a country that respects the rule of law, we have no option but to accept the decisions of the court. And more so when it was the last court, the highest court, making a decision. So I'm not a lawyer, but if there was any reason that somebody wanted to review, I think the lawyers can argue if there are ways of seeking a review over something like that. I'm not an expert in that field, so I cannot speak to it. But we cannot run away from the fact that we need to respect the constitutional lanes as they have been provided for.